I've been looking through the table of contents for the Gospels, because Mark, Luke, and John all have tables of contents in the Bible. And so, like, I've been talking about Para, and once again, there's Ton, and if you know Balon or Bala, like, you might know, like, what is it? Throw? What is it? I think to throw or cast is a variation of Bala, according to the internet. And it's something you see, I think, a lot. But I have seen Para a lot in the table of contents for Luke, and the table of contents for John. I saw Paul Raw. Here's Paul. Once again, Bale, and then but it's not epi because there's a p, so it'd be balape, not per. I always see epi, and then I know it's wait. What am I reading? I'm reading wrong. So it's Perry. Oh, Perry. Oh, I can't read. I'm retarded. Pardon me. Because this is the table of contents. Remember how they all start with Perry usually? But for some reason, we've got some that are starting with Pa Ra, which I'm right here. It's saying Pa Ra, and then Bolain. But this one just says Perry Ton Pa Ra Bolain. Bolain, we're all like, what? Is Yeshluan in Luke's lineage twice? There's that word Yeshluan. It's the same word, which it might not be like exactly what I think it is. But so he casts, but then this one's just Periton Parabolon. Like, and at that point we start going, are you guys sure you know what these words mean? Because I don't think you know what the words mean. So I did look at other lineage, or I looked at I don't know what I'm saying. Like, I can read it sometimes, and then sometimes, like, I'm definitely not reading it very well, and it's taking me forever to get to the folder with my screenshots in, anyways. Yeah, I don't have internet, so I have to screenshot things, right? Like, I barely have internet, so I have to screenshot things and then go look at it later. Para kanta, tapara kanta is what it says here for Para for John's lineage. It just says Tou, Para, Kantou, Perita, Para, Kanta. So yesterday I looked at the table of contents for Mark, and remember when I looked at the table of contents, I found the name Louis. This is the table of contents for Luke, but it has very similar, it has the exact same chapters as Mark, actually. Sometimes, like, if you remember, it said, I mentioned the word telos, but it had telana, and I don't know what that means, but I kind of have trouble not assuming it is really that. But it also had paratika, and it had, why does it look exactly the same? It's like surprising to me it looks exactly the same, because it looks exactly the same, but this is Luke's lineage. Like, I can scroll to the bottom of my screen right here, like I'm looking at it, and when you get to the bottom of the screen, it will say Capitula of Luke, and that's why I'm very confused about why I'm not seeing, because I know what the one from Mark looks like, and it says Para Atika, and it says and I'm looking at it right now, it says Paratika, and it says lepra, just like that. It says ta lepra. It says the same chapters, in fact, and I thought it said Yeshluan, which this one has Yeshluan there. It says Raston Yeshluan. I think it's very confusing when you're seeing it on my screen right now, but this says Raz Petra on Mark's lineage, but it does say Razdan Echelon somewhere, unless I was looking at the wrong chapter yesterday. Paura Baseas Tes Inta. Okay, yeah, but like that's not the same, but I'm still not seeing Raz. Yeshlon, because I did see this again in this book. Yeshlon. I saw the name again in Luke's thing, and like I can look at it right now, and I can read you what it says. It says Periton Pinta Ar Don Kai Don Dua Yeshluan, whatever that means. And so like there's a different verse involving Yeshluan, because this is once again not the same. This is Luke's lineage right here, but there's a lot of like this paraboles, which boles, I think a lot of us have seen boles a lot to like, and we always think throw, and we always see bala or whatever, bolas, whatever. But this is parabole, and I'm seeing a lot of paraboles, but I'm also seeing para other things. When you have a computer in your head, you can create the most beautiful masterpiece of online education, and then you're telling them the book's Mark instead of Luke, and they don't believe you about Yeshlon. But here, once again, we see these two dots. If I were to write in Arabic and I drew a line, what would that be? 2 dots. If I drew a triangle, what would it be? 3 dots. So I always, like if I'm writing in Arabic, I will always do 2 dots over the T, the ta, or whatever it is. But here's Yeshlon, and it looks like when I look at it, this is the book of John's table of contents. Once again, we're seeing para right here, perita para, and that looks like kai, but I think it's like kanta, which really is confusing to me when it says kanta, para kanta, para kanta, because can is was in, so like if you were to say Paul, like Alex can Talib Fugama Amerikea, you would say like Alex was a student in American University. But that looks like it says Para Kenta, which is very confusing to me. But what I'm actually looking at is like how the book of John actually has the same chapter name right here that includes that word Yeshluan. Because what I'm seeing right here is it says Periton Penta Arton Kaiton. Ooh, I lost my spot. Kaiton. It looks like, oh no, it's Dua. Once again, there's a delta that it's hard to see. Dua. Yeshluan. Because that's a theta. And so like sometimes you have to go look at the other one to know that that's what that says, because I have a lot of trouble reading that penta also. It's hard to know that's a P and that's an E. Because if it makes a sound like pi, then it's going to be pa. So it's not that bad. Yeah, so it looks like they have a lot of the same names. Do I see Louis in John's lineage? No, I don't think I saw Louis in John's lineage. I saw Louis in Mark in Luke's lineage, but I have seen Yeshluan in both. Not lineages, in the table of contents. There's something in my head making me say things wrong. I'm telling you, they just have to mess it up just a little bit. At least we can mess it up a little bit. They're always trying to like ruin it enough that I have to take it down, or to make it so it's like I screwed up in my video. Like like they're there. They're there. I'm sure the Greek experts have reached the point with this, kind of like I have, where they're not sure how to not think kai is the word kai. Because of things like this, like perita phariseus, pharisea, kaita talana, and like because because there's peri Louis talana, like it's because I think it's saying Louis is the talana, and what would that be related to? The word purpose, but according to what I'm reading, like it is not what that is. But Louis would be a talana, and we know the Pharisees are something too. And so I do think it's kai, it's and there, which doesn't mean that we're saying it the right way. It might be kai instead of kai. But I also saw like another use of it at some point. Maybe it was in Luke's lineage also, and that Marias, Peri Marias, Kai Marias. Well, it's Peri Mareas, Kai Marias. And that's why, like, I mean, because you would think that's a name, Marias, like, I mean, like, is Marias actually Maria's name in Greek? I think it is Mary. I think they would say Marias, right? But there are two different spellings for it here because I don't think you see it on your screen. But I do, like, it would be weird that it's Maria and Maria. That's the reason it's like, what? Because it's MAR epsilon alpha sigma and then chi MARIAS. So it's mu alpha rho iota alpha sigma. But I do think that's like I think that's a pretty good indication. Like, what is that? Why is that confusing? Because of Kayan. Like, I think that everyone was confused by that. Why would it be and on? Like, I think that some of us are very, 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 very confused still. But but when we look at this, we don't know how to deal with it not being and, because Pharisea kai ta talana, which clearly, like, I think it's important to note that I'm trying to read the Greek Bible without knowing the language, and no one knows the language. But then I have someone in my head that does know the language who's trying to mess me up. So probaton. Oh, we need to probaton into probaton, don't we? Who remembers that? Me. What's probaton? The sheep. Probaton. Like, it was like one of those things where it's like, no, I don't believe this sentence is that sentence. But we have seen probata. Because there's parabole, peri, ek, ton, probata. And that is very confusing to me because para, what was it? What were we saying? Throw, peri, I still can't figure out peri out of ton, probaton, out of the sheep. I'm very confused what he's doing with the sheep. Peri's been one of those words that, like, I'm obsessed with Perry. All I need to do is figure out what the stupid word Perry means. I'll never know what the word Perry means ever. There's Deca Lepron, 10 lepers. And it's like, and that makes me wonder about the plurals, because, like, if there are 10 lepers, then of course it's lepra would be lepron. Because I know that on is something you would put on the end of a name, like Yezon or Aaron or Yeshuan, like what we've seen. And so that's why when it says 10 lepron, I get very confused. And so it's hard, and kiss. Okay. All right. So hoika. What is hoika? It can be oikate, which would be a slave, and then there's oikia, which would be a house. And so, but dikias would be like a good thing. Like a dikia would be like a bad thing, but then dikias would be like good, almost like like moral taste. But that's adakias, so that's like bad. Perita oikan Noma, let be name, tes. I really wish I could talk to people before I make videos because then I wouldn't post wrong information. But I wanted to talk about this Yeshluan because, like, is that a name? I don't know. Because remember, someone's the head of Yeshluan. And then there's also the head of Petra, which, like, the head of Petra, like, could be the head of the family, of the Peter's family. I was very confused about how Peter wasn't a family of people because of Acts. I think Acts 1 or something. But I wasn't reading Codex Alexandrinus. So we've been talking about this word Yeshluan. It says periton penta, the 5 are don kai are the but the and are and don dua in the dua Yeshluan. Peri the 5 are which maybe arton is not R, because remember we were saying R as an individual word, and it's very hard for me to not believe R is an individual word because of some of the things I've seen, but I don't know what else R is. But we have the 5 and ton after that, and that's why it's kind of hard not to think that that's not and. Because what's tone, like tane tone, but like I don't know if that's the spelling for all the tones, but there are like 4 different words for the word the, depending on like the situation in which you're using the word the, and it will never actually mean the, and that's why we've seen all these words that I kind of ignore. Like I ignore ta, I ignore tane, I ignore ton. I ignore taste. I haven't done Greek since I was a small child, so like, and then like, I've kind of been learning on the fly. There's dia for God, dia lagiza minan, tis mizan, muzan. Oh, muzan. That wouldn't Musa would be Moses. Because remember we were saying that if this is a vowel, it can turn into u, because Alleluia and because of Louis and because of like eudaimonia. And so that could be Moses because Musa. But I'm not sure. I'm kind of going for it today. So I'm going to let's talk about the words. So peri, I don't know what that means. And when I looked it up, it didn't help me trying to understand the table of contents. But that's the 5 are the and the 2 Yeshuan. And that's why the is very confusing to me. If you notice, they all start, I mentioned they all start with periton or perita or peritas, and that's why Peri Louis was what Peri Louis, but then it was Peri Louis ta, and so ta very likely is the, taste metamorphosa as I can't read that crap. All right, so but what I'm actually trying to figure out is meta is its own word, but what I'm actually showing you is peri is let's just skip peri because we've seen where the titles are just you don't need the word peri in there, because this is the table of contents. But it would just be the 5 are the and the 2 Yeshuan, the two Yeshuas, which I think would be very confusing to me. When it talks about the 10 lepers, does anyone know about the 10 lepers? I'm sure we could ask the Bible experts out there, where's the story about the 10 lepers? Where's the story about the 2 Yeshuas? And akalule, like, have I seen that word before? Yes. In Ikrolakas, in the book Palon ka Megalon Imidia Tanama. And then I can't remember when it gets to the point where I said ekalule, but there's ekalulane. And so like I have seen that but it could be ekalulane now. Lean, I don't know, ekalalun. I don't know how to say it now. But when I look at it, I go, oh yeah, I've read that when I was reading Ikalakas. Here's the Mary and Martha. I'm sure is what what I'm supposed to think it is, because Marias is Mary, and then that. I've reached is that you guys will never believe me that there's something wrong with the Greek here, because the 5 breads, plural, and the 2 fish. Oh, okay. I thought he fed like 5,000 with that many pieces of bread. Yeah, okay. So he had like no bread, he had no fish. He fed 5,000 people. Do I know artists like it says artond in it? Yeah, like do I know that? Yeah, I always see bread. Like I've always not really believed it bread, but I always talk about it all the time. Like that's why I feel stupid for not going. That's bread, the 2 bread and the 5 fish, because I looked it up, and like they're saying that fish was IXTH, which would this is a la for me, and then there was upsilon, and then it goes plural with the N to make it an on. And so like I do think they're covering up the language, and I do think I've talked about the ons a lot, enough that like you guys know, like it's the ands, ons for like the names, like Yeshua and Yeshuan. I never stopped talking about Yeshuan, and I never stopped talking about like Aaron, and like I showed Sadan yesterday. Her name's Sada, like in Genesis, right before this poem, or right after this poem, and then because it's talking about Sada and Abram, and then it has Sadan, because she's like they did that with her name. And so if you're making something plural, okay, so logos plural would be logoi. Wait, yeah, logos is made plural with logoi, but you can also make things plural with the N, right? Like you don't even understand, but I've seen plurals with, if I see muns, I'm going to think you're talking about your men, like the men in your army or something, like the men that work for you or something like that. I think it's the plural for man. And I think that's one of the reasons that his name's Aman, because he is a man, Amendia. Like he's God. I mean, theoretically, in a sense, to those people, he was God, but he's not God. That's a person who's just a smart person who's like actually a pretty good guy that everyone likes having in charge, because he's not like, I want to like check, I want to like smell check you, like I need to be obsessed with you. I just want to point out something, because now that I've translated, where I have given 2 translations for this part of the table of contents for Luke, which says the 5 fish and the 5 breads and the 2 fish. And if you know about this history of Christianity, like there's the fish symbol, you'll see it on cars a lot. And that's because the secret symbol for Jesus was apparently that. But like it would be IXTHYC, based on what I looked at online, is what fish is. But they're saying that plural fish is thuon, or thuon, which is, they say o, but I say on, because I do Greek, because Esram, and because a lot of other things. But I also don't go duo. I say dua. And so, but like for me, it would say the 5 are the Lord, the 2 Yeshuas, which really would be confusing. But I did find the head of Yeshua, or which was Yeshuan, very similar. But what I was also saying is that like this proves that I'm able to actually speak proper Greek. This once again proves that I found a secret letter in Greek. I'm in trouble with the legal system because I'm a retarded person. Like the psychologists have to still examine me. They've been examining me for years, trying to figure out if I'm too retarded to be allowed to be in a courtroom. And I have like proven once again today that when it's Yakab, I'm telling you, his name's Yakab. Like Jacob is Yakab. And when it's Yeshluan, like I mean it could be Yeshluan, but I think it's Yeshluan. Like I'm pretty sure. And it proves that I do know that that's a different letter. Just like in Arabic, it would not be, an aleph is not a ya, and a ta is not a ya. Like the dots are not at the same spot. Like it's a different letter. Like a nun is not, they're not the same letter. Like they're not. And so like if there are 2 dots, it's not the same letter. Because that's Yeshluan. And like if they were using it as a secret symbol, it's because it sounded the same. Like, but I actually think it might. I think I don't know how to believe in things, but I'm seeing Marias kai Marias Marus kai Marias maybe if one of those is a vowel. Show you an example of why I think that S is what makes things plural. I can't figure out where I am on the screen. But there's apostoles, which I was looking at, and it's their perites apostoles after the morum. All right, there it is. All right, so apostoles, Yana. Apostoles Yan da Dika. So like Dika would be a good thing, because Dikaio, because there's Adika and there's a, anyways, I don't even know the endings because the endings keep, but I have like I can feel certain things, but maybe it's not. But what have I been looking at today? Apostola lon, and what is lon? It's I think it's kind of like God to me. Like when I see lon, I might think it's kind of like God. And so that's why I think they're called the apostola lon. But here what it's calling them is the apostoles, which I think that's like, and then that's followed by yon. And so like when I see that, like what I'm actually trying to say is that I think that's the plural for apostles. The apostoles, yon dadika, which like I don't know. Like I get to that point where I'm like I can feel the concept, but I couldn't feel the concept on that. Like I really couldn't, or on the Yeshuan, no way. Like I was like the 2 Yeshuan. Like I was going like, what is this? The 5 what? The 5 are the Kai, and the and 2 Yeshuan. But like I was like, but there's the head of Yeshuan. Like I do know that lease, like the word the Arabs know for Satan. All of us were like snickering when they talk about Iblis, because like the lease is like your liege. It's a title. That's what I got convinced of, because I really did look at lease enough that like I kind of got to the point where I was like, but now like that might be loose. Oh my gosh, because like if it's epsilon before iota, then that would be loose. Loose. Which Lucifer